right. Jacket. Oh. Ah, great, more ants. Yep, more ants. I need that. Oh. I'm so sick of this. I'm getting way too many ants. Food, yeah, it's because of his damn food too. Can't believe he doesn't know how to eat properly. A big, huge box of pizza for yourself. I mean, come on, that was an extra large. He fucking can't even eat properly. I mean, come on, spilling all over the place. Like, dude, I'm not cleaning the car again. You know. Sheesh, like, bitch, come on. Like, I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not playing that. I don't. Yeah, I don't like you. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I should be fine. I hate this. To get Tampa. Pick the loser up and take him, dump him off at work and do the rest. Worst job on earth. Stuck with
Thanks so much, John Tucker. Let's also get some more details on some of the stuff that are moving to the times, and there's a lot coming out on Bloomberg News.com. At 18 feet, they want to know something. Now, Verizon missed that they possibly didn't buy a phone. And they know the equipment is all red. Well, I mean, we are in the red across the board, but I've got one here for you in the green. As we're looking at AT&T, its shares are seeing their biggest gain since October of last year, up as much as 4.8%. And this is after it added far more mobile subscribers than Wall Street had expected in the second quarter. Fewer customers are canceling, and many have added wireless service to their broadband plans. Reported of 419,000 new monthly phone subscribers, according to a report that came out yesterday. So this is marking the first year-over-year increase in 8 quarters. So really good news here for AT&T, and we are seeing investors rally behind it. What else are you looking at? Google, we can't forget that. Can't forget that. I know you all will be talking about it a bit later in this hour. We're looking at Alphabet shares falling after Google poured a lot of its resources into driving and outmatching its rivals in the AI space. It ended up spending much more money than expected. Capital spending rose to $13.2 billion in the second quarter, which was above analyst expectations of 12.2. We're seeing Alphabet shares falling 7.4%, holding lowest intraday level since July.
That's a deep. I thought, I know they missed estimates, but stock down like 4%.
It's also rare for them to miss like that, no? Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a really interesting one here because this is after its revenue at the payment giant really did miss expectations. As you mentioned, we have shares down pretty substantially, and this is after a big quarterly revenue miss that fell short of Wall Street's expectations. It did see net revenue for the third quarter at $8.9 billion, which was short of analyst expectations here.
All right, well, it's not because of me. I'm spending. So I don't know what's going on.
You're there. You're loyal.
I'm there.
And you're a Visa guy.
Yeah, well, no, I go either way.
Oh, see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm an Amex person. Likewise.
I don't do Amex that much. I have it in the wallet, but
Right. It's just for the points, for the Delta. I have the Delta Collab. Yeah, the Delta Collab. Just got some great points there.
Green card, baby.
Okay.
They keep trying to offer me all these things. I'm like, no. I got this is what made me. This is what I'm gonna
Keep
stick
it
with it.
simple.
Like Budweiser. Norma Linda, thanks so much. We appreciate that. All right, folks. Inflation is at the heart of economic issues this election cycle. Prices. The voters' perception still run hot. Wall Street Week was asked former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers what we know so far about Vice President Harris's economic policies. Let's listen in.
We don't know much yet. The campaign's only been going for 2 days. But I think we've got some strong bases for optimism. First, it's been the Biden-Harris administration, and if you step back, it really has a remarkable record. I don't think any administration has so outperformed the economic forecast on the day that it came into office as the Biden-Harris administration has, and that's because of an approach that is about investing in America and investing in America's future. And if you look at some of the things Vice President Harris has done, they have that orientation to the future. She knows that our children are our future, and that's why the child care credit and investing in child poverty rates by half when they were in effect were so important to her. She knows that fiscal responsibility is central, and that's why she puts emphasis on the fact that we need to raise taxes where it is replacing the ineffective, massive corporate tax cuts that President Trump put into place. She understands that much of our future lies in exporting to the rest of the world. It's not her approach to call Africa and El Salvador countries, as President Trump did. It's her approach to work to strongly support their development, because she knows that more prosperous countries around the world make for a more prosperous United States. She knows that there's a strong role for the market system, that we need businesses to succeed if we're going to create jobs in the United States. She knows that actually better than J.D. Vance did, judging by his comments at the Republican convention. Environmental policies if we're going to protect the planet. It's focused on the future. And our future lies in technology that empowers and strengthens workers, and that works for American children. And that's going to be, I believe, the focus of her administration. And it's a new generational approach and a stark contrast with what came before with Donald Trump. And judging by what he's saying on the campaign trail, a even larger contrast with what would come if he were elected. What he describes, David, is a prescription for massive inflation. Ignore the deficit, bash the Fed, trash the dollar, cut back on labor supply by trying immediately to send millions of people home, stop subsidizing clean energy, and put massive tariffs on so businesses can't get cheap inputs. It's hard to imagine a better strategy for creating inflation, for creating high interest rates than the Trump strategy. President Harris, I believe, will avoid all those pro-inflation mistakes, and much more important, will build a future-oriented economy through our kids, through our technologies, through containing our debts, and through working with the world.
You've been listening to Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary, talking to Wall Street Week's David Weston about Vice President Harris's economic policies as she tries to ascend to the presidency in November. Let's get more now on the money behind this race. Max Abelson joins us, Bloomberg News finance reporter, on an article about the get-rich-quick ideas. I was going to call them schemes, but they're not ideas. They're not schemes. They're ideas from Wall Street donors. They need to raise money fast. for Vice President Harris?
Well, first of all, I have to give a shout out to the journalist who's really responsible for this work, who's Amanda Gordon, my friend and colleague, who's been reporting on the rich people who love Donald Trump, the former president, and the rich people who want to make Kamala Harris the next president. And, listen, I don't want to give it the wrong idea. I mean, wealthy Democratic donors on Wall Street have been, putting a lot of money into the effort to reelect Biden. It's not as if they had closed their purses and their wallets, and then all of a sudden they're opening it up. But I think what Amanda's journalism highlights in a really vivid way is that they are going strong and they're going hard, and they don't have a lot of time to raise this money. And when I say they, I want to be clear that we're talking about essentially the creme de la creme of Democratic donors. You've got, do you all know the name Blair Efron?
Yeah.
Yep, Centerview. I mean, you got Brad Karp. Brad Karp is technically a lawyer, but I think there's a part of big law that's essentially an extension of Wall Street. You've got Mark Lazary, Ray McGuire, who I wrote a profile of for Business Week back when he was running for mayor, if you all remember that. It's funny at Blackstone, obviously the most important donor inside Blackstone is Steve Schwarzman, who's giving a lot of money to Republicans. But don't forget, Blackstone's John Gray is there to, I don't know if he's essentially I'm assuming not wealthy enough to counterbalance Schwarzman, but still a lot of money. The list goes on. Peter Orszag, Roger Altman. These are the people who've been at the highest level of Wall Street kind of Democratic caucus for a long time. And you just sense a lot of excitement about Harris, and they're going to be spending a lot of money.
Well, it's interesting because I think Wall Street and just business in general is trying to get a sense of these early days. What would a Harris presidency mean for business? Would it be good for business? And I see Amanda quotes Jim Cramer in here telling investors on CNBC Wednesday that a Harris win would, quote, absolutely, no doubt about it, end quote, be good for U.S. businesses.
Only Jim Cramer would say no doubt about it, when of course no one ever knows what the future holds. But, speaking of business, I think it's important to pause and to remind our listeners that, Donald Trump, we know what Donald Trump will do for the business community, and let's talk about it. I mean, the big news is that he likes low taxes, and I mean low corporate taxes, and then low taxes on wealthy people. He also has pledged to deregulate, and he has shown that he wants to. That's why you have real enthusiasm for him on Wall Street. Howard Lutnick, John Paulson, Woody Johnson, John Catsimatidis. There are really, really deep wells of really rich Wall Street executives who want this guy to win. Omid Malik, they've been raising money for him. They're going to be raising money for him. I don't want listeners to think that when Wall Street looks at the 2024 presidential election, all of their money is going to Democrats, because that is not the case.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that there is a really big part of Wall Street that looks at Kamala Harris with a kind of optimism. The kind of optimism that she gets them, that she understands them. I don't think they look at her the way that they would look at Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren as a sort of, it is a loaded word, but as a kind of enemy. I think they look at her, maybe the right way to say this is, as a potential ally.
Well, I mean, Bloomberg's been reporting that the Harris campaign pulled in $100 million just from the announcement through Monday evening, and presumably that's from smaller donations as opposed to pulling into some of these Wall Street.
It is from smaller donations.
Well, I was going to say, to that point, that it also is from new donors, not just smaller, but new, which also raises the question that she would be the first woman and the first Indian American to be elected president. Obviously, President Obama was African American, so she would not be the first African American. But the idea is that hope going to bring in a lot of new donors that otherwise wouldn't have donated, even on the high end?
Yes. Listen to the statistic. Okay. You ready? There were 1.1 million unique donors. Not 1.1 donations, 1.1 million different donors who contributed in that, what was it, like 36 hours after she announced. 2/3, not fully 2/3, 62% giving for the first time.
Wow.
But no matter how many small donations she gets, she's going to have to raise a lot of money, and she's going to have to do it quickly. So I think the way the landscape looks is that she's getting support from like a Barry Diller, a literal billionaire, and she's going to need support from those 1.1 million unique donors, practically 2/3 doing it for the first time. She is going to be embracing, I think, both of those, although obviously I'm pretty sure that when it comes to publicly bragging, she's going to be publicly bragging about those small donors and not publicly bragging about the billionaires.
Well, on Saturday coming up, Harris is scheduled to appear at a donor event featuring the performances of James Taylor, Yo-Yo Ma, and Emmanuel Axe. It's like an episode from The West Wing.
Shout out to Yo-Yo Ma, though. I love the Bach show. It's really fun.
Yeah, but don't you want somebody who's more in tune with, the younger generation?
Well, she also came out yesterday to Beyonce, which she had full rights to use. So there's also that.
Yo-Yo Ma?
Yeah. No. Well, yesterday was Beyonce. You gotta have the. This is my point. Is you gotta have the different levels.
Well, her husband's also in the game. He will attend several fundraisers next week, including an event in Martha's Vineyard featuring comedian David Letterman.
Listen, the kids love Yo-Yo Ma, though. I'm telling you.
They do.
Well, also, I guess, what are you trying to appeal to? Are you trying to appeal to the kids?
Who is Emmanuel Axe?
So you're trying to appeal to heavy donors? What is that goal when you're coming out to Beyonce or
You're trying to appeal to the voters, the younger voters especially.
Can I answer that?
I want to answer the question, though. Emmanuel Axe? Yeah. Really lovely piano. Okay. You should have listeners. When you're not listening to Bloomberg Radio, listen to some Emmanuel Axe. Great piano.
I do love Yo-Yo Ma, but then again, I don't think I'm the young kid. So there's that.
But it's a good metaphor, though. It's a good metaphor. She's going to want Beethoven listeners and Mozart listeners, and she's going to want Beyonce listeners. In a way, it's kind of a good family for
How about the Swifties? Where are the Swifties at? Can I get the Swifties right now? That's a big
So actually, funny you say that. Michael McKee has been texting a group chat that we have kind of nonstop as to who Taylor Swift will endorse. Will she endorse Kamala Harris, and will that, move her away from any MAGA attendees? And I'm trying to be like, dude, chill. That's not gonna happen.
All right. I mean, she's
Fans going to vote interest for Harris. Yeah, we're good. Anyway, much more coming up. We're there at the State of Commercial Real Estate. Hey, Max, really appreciate it. Max Abelson joining us. Coming up, we're going to talk to Sonny Kelsey. He's co-chief executive officer of our BGO on the State of Commercial Real Estate. So definitely stay tuned for that conversation. This is Bloomberg.
Get the latest business news uninterrupted on your Bay Area commute. Listen to Bloomberg Radio on Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Download the Bloomberg Business app on your smartphone now. Then listen no matter where you are, up and down the West Coast. Get live radio, podcasts, and hourly news updates. Plus, expanded details on your favorite shows. All on demand, anywhere in the Bay Area. The Bloomberg Business app, now on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Downloaded free in the Apple App Store or on Google Play.
Join global business leaders and investors at the Bloomberg Sustainable Business Summit, returning to Singapore on July 31st. Take part in solutions-driven discussions on how to drive business value and unlock opportunity while remaining nimble in times of change and greater ESG accountability. Learn more at bloomberglive.com/sustainablebizsingapore. That's bloomberglive.com/sustainablebizsingapore.
Hi, I'm Cesar Milan. People are always commenting on how happy and healthy my dogs are. One of the reasons is the food my dogs eat.
Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend is a premium freeze-dried raw dog food designed to support your dog's health, happiness, and lifespan.
Their jaws are more flexible, their teeth are cleaner, and their coats shinier. And why they seem more youthful even as they age. I'm veterinarian Dr. Marty Goldstein. I've helped countless dogs thrive with one simple concept. Your dog needs a high-meat diet similar to what their ancestors ate in the wild.
Dr. Marty created Nature's Blend using 50 years of nutritional research and experience, helping dogs make incredible turnarounds. Save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free bag of Cod Crispies. They're wild-caught, ultra-crunchy cod skin treats. Go to drmartypets.com/dogs or text DOGS to 511-511.
Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by Dr. Marty Pets.
In the fast-paced world of financial services, a compliance revolution is coming. Imagine turning your firm's day-to-day business communications into your greatest asset. What if you could leverage communications data not just to satisfy compliance, but to prevent insider threats, predict risk, and protect against vulnerabilities? With Smart, you can. Unleash the power of regulatory-grade AI to stop risk before it happens. Visit smart.com/one to learn more. smart.com/ONE.
Wait, hey Erica, how much am I spending on travel?
When your questions about lifetime
weather forecast on Bloomberg 950.
Sunny skies today, high in the upper 70s, maybe in the 90s inland. Partly cloudy tonight, low in the middle 50s to middle 60s. A little cooler in the North Bay. Lots of sun Thursday, not as hot. 70s near the Bay, 80s and lower 90s inland. Mostly sunny Friday, high only 65 to 75 near the Bay, 75 to 85 as you head inland. I'm Scott Kaplan with your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 960.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day on Bloomberg Radio, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Business app. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash. And I'm John Tucker in the Bloomberg Newsroom with this Bloomberg Business Flash. Tech-led slump today, of course. Communication services, information technology, helping lead losses in the S&P 500. Tesla, among the worst performing stocks in the index right now, and that is down over 11%. Profit there slumping for a third quarter in a row. Not far behind Alphabet. Those shares down 3.7%. Yield of the 2-year Treasury, worth noting, plunging to the lowest since February. You have speculation mounting that the Federal Reserve officials may cut interest rates as soon as this month. The 2-year yield, 7 basis points lower, 4.37 right now. The 10 is down 4 basis points. That's at 4.21. The Fed meets at the end of the month. Former New York Fed Chief Bill Dudley changing his tune. He now says, get on with it. He wants a rate cut in July. Right now, the S&P 500, 93 points lower. That's down 1.7%. 54 is 61 on the index. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 400 points, 1% lower. The NASDAQ 100, 529 points lower. That's down 2.7%. It's worth noting that Russell 2000 is down, but down by only 0.6%. We check the markets for you all day long right here on Bloomberg Radio. I'm John Tucker, and that's your Bloomberg Business Flash. Alex Paul.
Hi, JT. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Alex Steele, Paul Sweeney live here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studios, doing that streaming thing on the internet. YouTube.com, search Bloomberg Podcast, and that's where you'll find us. Let's talk commercial real estate, because I have no idea what's going on here. I need to see some price action, price discovery out there in the marketplace. If I'm going to buy an office building on 3rd Avenue in Manhattan, what kind of discount am I going to get? Fortunately, Abigail Doolittle knows a ton of people in that business. Abigail Doolittle's a markets reporter, but she is wired into that commercial real estate business, which means the whole Morgan Stanley real estate mafia alumni crew. One of them, Sonny Kalsic, co-chief executive officer of BGO. I said, who's BGO? They got $85 billion in assets under management. What rock have I been sleeping under? So these guys are big. Sonny, thank you so much for joining us here in our studio. Abigail, thank you so much for joining us as well. Sonny, all I know is I walk down 3rd Avenue into a lot of empty buildings, and I'm just wondering how representative is that of the commercial real estate business? Simplistic. Yeah. How do you guys view the commercial real estate business today? It's got to be like something you've never seen before.
It is something like we've never seen before. And you think after 34 years you see everything, and we always get asked to compare cycles, and every cycle is different, and this one is definitely different. I'll answer your question in a second, but the context around it is you just pick the asset class that's been hit the worst in the last 4 years, right? 2 years of a pandemic, call it, where people were working from home and a bunch of other stuff, and then you've got it piling on in terms of kind of bad secular news for the office sector, right? Work from home was one problem. I'm a real estate owner, so I think it's a problem. Work from home was one problem. It never would have happened without technology like Zoom. But then you have AI. You have a bunch of other stuff coming, which are all going to come after jobs, presumably. Office in gateway cities, like New York City, is probably if you want to think about lower left, if that's the bad place to be, that's the bad place to be, right? I do agree when the baby gets thrown out with the bathwater and they say all real estate is bad. People focus on that because it's kind of what's present, right? Abigail and I were talking about how the streets and out here and the retailers are all empty that used to be here. That's what you see, right? What you don't see as much is people are still living somewhere. You still get your goods and services somehow. Those are coming to you from a warehouse somewhere as opposed to coming to you because you're going to a store. Not that those haven't been immune, right? But office, it's been tough. And honestly, I don't see it getting better in the near term.
Well, then to that point, what part of real estate is cyclical versus secular.
Yes.
So, like,
Yeah.
the warehouse point you make,
Yeah.
that has to be a secular shift, but we're still in a cyclical market. That's
Correct.
going to be very tricky.
Correct. Yeah, well, so look, I would say, as I think about investing, I think about the four quadrants, and people think about debt, equity, public, private. I actually think about cyclical, secular, and headwind, tailwind, right? So if you think about what's in secular decline and has secular headwinds, office is the best asset class to think about, right? All the top-down news is bad, the bottom-up news is bad, capital markets are bad. In terms of what has cyclical tailwinds, right? What has cyclical tailwinds and secular tailwinds? Anything related to technology. So I'm sure you've had a lot of people come in and talk about data centers. Mm-hmm. We have a big data center business too. It's been great. The issue is it's no secret that it's great. So there's a lot of money piling in. There's a huge amount of demand, which is what makes great secular cyclical opportunity. I think where we actually do our job, where we can be in a position to make the most money, is places that have secular tailwinds and cyclical headwinds. Okay. Right? Now, most things have cyclical headwinds right now because of the capital markets. When you ask Paul when things are going to come back, until credit comes back into the market, we're not going to see it. But right now, it's a great time to be in warehouses. The secular tailwinds are still pretty good, but it's expensive to build them. It's expensive to buy them. And so if you can figure that out with data, with anything else to kind of get an edge, that's good. Housing is the best bet, in my view, right now. And this is a U.S. comment. Half of our portfolio is U.S., half is non-U.S. People have to live somewhere. We have a structural housing shortage, but we have some issues. And so to me, it's actually the really interesting place to be.
Well, speaking of your portfolio, it's not all bad, because right here over on Park Avenue, 425, I've walked by that building many times. It's the new Citadel building. It is absolutely beautiful, and there is the benzo green oak stamp right on it. You know, when we think about this pain, though, it really comes back to rates. And you've had, we've stayed in touch, and I know that you had a great call on rates that back in 2021, 2022, when the Fed forecasted or telegraphed that they were going to raise, you took a particular view. Bond traders didn't do this. I know a lot of other commercial real estate investors that were more the hopium. Talk to us about what you were seeing, what you did, and what it meant for your portfolio.
So I think, and again, I'm not an economist, but my philosophy has always been you can do nothing about what you can't control. So focus on what you can control. We can control the rate environment. So when the Fed raised rates, and they did it at the pace they did it, and at the slope at which they did it, our view was we couldn't count on when they were going to come back down again. Like that was, and so what did we do? We invested against that. Now part of it is, why did we think they were doing what they were doing, right? And I think a lot of people focus, what I would say, on the demand side. They focus on cash. They talk about how central banks have pumped in, COVID money, all that stuff. We actually focus on the supply side. The benefit of having a big global industrial portfolio is we see throughput. We have a big business in Asia. We saw China shut down. The world's largest manufacturer shut down for 3 years. It's a little bit of a statement of hyperbole, but they shut down for 3 years. Our view was you are not going to get back to normality until China reopened. China didn't reopen until the end of 22, beginning of 2023, after the 5-year Congress. So until that happened, it was our view that you weren't going to see stuff come back to normal again, right? Whatever normal is, by the way. And so the way we kind of thought about it is we're going to ignore it. There are a lot of people that are trying to invest against, hoping interest rates would come down quickly and then bet against that. I have too much scar tissue from too many other cycles.
Would you buy